Antimicrobial resistance is part of that ongoing war between ourselves and bacteria that cause disease. The World Health Organization has defined it as one of the top 10 public health issues facing mankind in the next 30 or 40 years. The biggest hurdle is trying to obtain a cure. This is what we're looking for in children. We do not want them to be subjected to lifelong problems. Cures are made difficult by the behaviour of bacteria in the airways. They form biofilms which protect them against the antibiotics we use, make it very difficult to eradicate them, and they often adopt strategies within those biofilms that allow the infection to come back.
The impact of AMR on me was that from the age of 12 onwards, I was essentially not able to go to school because it would knock me out too much. I had to keep changing medication. I was on about 25 to 30 pills a day. So it took me a few years to be able to deal with all the bacteria and stuff inside my body, to deal with it enough to get to a point where I could start the rest of my recovery.
Well, you look like a fairly healthy 83-year-old, but underneath, inside is a crumbling mess because of the impact of the pneumonia and the continuing chest infections. You appear quite normal and you can still articulate and do things, but your whole world collapses, and that is quite terrifying. It's obvious that all doctors know about AMR and the resistance, but I don't think they know where to go and what to use.
Well, it's interesting because I always knew that Mallory had this bacteria because when she was colonized at the age of 12 by B. cepacia, and they told me that she had the deadliest strain, which was cepacia, the doctors warned us that things would get way more difficult. But she did peacefully coexist with it for a while and was able with the treatments to keep things sort of okay, but over time, it stopped being okay. And what happened is Mallory would have an increased exacerbation of her infection, and then they would put her in the hospital and she would have to use a PICC line, and that meant she couldn't play sports and she couldn't swim or play volleyball or play water polo. She went to her senior prom in a cute dress with the PICC line sticking out, and ultimately it was always interfering with everything. In terms of her mental health, I think that living with the fear of dying is really a traumatic thing for anybody, especially a young child, and she grew up knowing that this would someday kill her.
So a biofilm is a shield that bacteria secrete to protect themselves, and they encase themselves in this matrix. The matrix actually is a barrier to anything that tries to take them out. And so although the antibiotics might come in and take out some of the free swimming bacteria, the ones that are encased in the biofilm will get left behind. The film also acts as a way for the bacteria to see what's going on around them as well. And so they're able to interact in some way with what's coming at them, get a look at it and kind of go, all right, this is what I need to do to survive for next time. That's how this chronic infection sort of starts to emerge, because it means the next time when they come out of the shield and we see symptoms again and we go back for treatment, the same treatment isn't going to have the same effect. And so then you get this recurring cycle of infection, which is what we see as chronic infection.
So what we've done at Lixa is we step entirely out of this and rethink how we see bacterial infections. And what we looked at is that we see these colony modes and we see this biofilm, and we realized that the biofilm is actually across all these other infections. So when we think about how does AMR spread, we actually believe it's the biofilm that is one of the major culprits, because the biofilm can stay in the body and other pathogens, viruses, can even seek protection under a biofilm and remain within the body. The key to the Lixa technology is that we don't kill bacteria. It sounds a bit silly, but we work only on the biofilm, the protective matrix. We do that in a non-threatening way to the bacteria, so that's why they're not going to fight against our technology, because they don't see it as threatening. In some infections, even biofilms make it 1,000 times more difficult for antibiotic and the immune system to actually clear the infection. Now, when NeoX comes in, it opens that up, and that makes the bacteria vulnerable, so antibiotics and the immune system can do their job. What that means is that generic antibiotics can work again. So we do not need to wait for high-end antibiotics to come through. We can make generic antibiotics work again, and that's what makes it scalable, and that's why it would be a solution to AMR.
If this Lixa technology is effective, it will be a huge step forward. We have been looking for a safe, effective disruptor of biofilms that can be used in a wide range of contexts for a long time. There have been a number of candidates, but to date they haven't been shown in human health to be effective. This would be almost as important as the original observation that penicillin could kill bacteria.
For Lixa, our real aim is to solve AMR, and AMR is a huge problem. And the part of the issue is that not many people know about it. They're not aware of the scale of the problem. So not only do we want to have a means to help people solve that, but also to understand it as well.
If AMR is not addressed, it will be a catastrophe. And I believe if you look at the intellectual capital we have in the world, when you bring that all together, that we're going to find a solution. And NeoX is a phenomenal technology that's compatible with others. So for instance, we could combine with antibiotic suppliers. We would love to partner with those who have phage therapies. We're really open to partnerships, because if you look at the massive opportunity that's there for NeoX, we can't do everything on our own. We know what we're good at, and that's in understanding biofilms. We want to work with you because we want to get products on the market, help patients, and solve this problem.
We need to find new and effective ways of treating these chronic problems if we're going to improve the quality of life for millions around the world.